different athletes and celebrities, if they come into town, they're going to tell their friends or whatever it is. And it's about...
Oh, you're going to Boston? Yeah, hit up Jeff London. He'll take...
Okay, I'm reloaded.
Jeff London, DJ Jason Smith.
Here come the bang.
When the sun goes down, the music turns up. A whole new world opens up behind the velvet rope. Join us as we take you behind the scenes of the nightlife world.
Are you ready?
DJ Jason Smith, Jeff London. I'm the promoter, he's the DJ podcast, live from Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah. Welcome, Jeff.
Episode 4.
Episode 4. We are still here. You guys still allow us to do this. Is pretty spectacular in my mind.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man. All the love we've been getting is great, man. Yeah. Definitely, dude.
How's your week been?
Week's been good, man.
Yeah. Any good movies? Anything going on? Since you aren't gigging right now.
Yeah, it's like I'm just looking for outlets. I've been producing a lot of like weird beats and stuff.
I like that.
But not in any like sort of genre field. I just been trying to just make feel good music.
I like it.
That just like flows. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's a good outlet because I'm not trying to create something that I'm not really enjoying. Some people produce records. They're like, ugh.
Understood. Yeah.
It's fun. But as far as like just doing that and just I spent a lot of time actually organizing my MP3 files, which is never too fun.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it just drags. And working at home is different because instead of working a 9-hour day, we're like 14, 15.
Yeah.
So it's a little different, And I've been catching up on Netflix and stuff and watch the Grammys and just trying to do shit like that. How was your week, man?
It's good. It was solid. Would you catch up on Netflix? You see that Tom and Jerry one?
No, that was on HBO.
Oh, HBO?
Max.
Oh,
yeah.
that's what. Okay.
It was so dope, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it was like.
I heard the soundtrack's where it's at.
Yeah, the soundtrack's amazing. First of all, it's like Tribe Called Quest records, all 90s hip-hop records.
Awesome.
It's so weird to see in like a kid's movie format, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, it's bananas, and it's dope. It was good, man. It was like Roger Rabbit. It was like live action and like, it was dope.
Yeah.
I won't lie, man. I'm an old-ass kid. I have Peter Pan syndrome. I don't want to grow up.
No.
As long as my bills are on auto pay, I'm good.
You're good? All right, that's good.
Before auto pay, it was a little issue.
Tough.
It's tough being a kid when you have to remember to like pay your bills on time. Yeah. So pay your bills, people.
Let's start off with the question of the week.
Yeah, what's the question of the week, man?
This one's pretty good. And we appreciate you guys on our IG sending in questions of the week. And
please.
We've got many of them, but we're going to do one a week. I think this one's really important. And it has to do with the battle between promoters and DJs. And this question is, what's more important?
Okay.
I'm going to let you go first, hear you out, and then I'm going to maybe take devil's advocate, maybe agree with you. We'll see how it goes. What's more important?
Let's see how it goes. Because if it's a battle between promoters and DJs.
What's more important?
Okay.
Getting your rate, getting your DJ fee that you want, that you think you're worth.
Yeah.
Or building/maintaining relationships with the promoter, club.
Damn, that's a good question.
Great question.
Because there's so many elements that go to play.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if I really want to play your room and I feel like it could really be a big boost in my career, I'll definitely, I'm not going to like undercut other DJs because that's not what I've ever done, and I don't ever support DJs undercutting each other. Mm-hmm. But, with that being said, if it's something that I would take a lower rate for a better opportunity. Now, if it's just a room that I'm not familiar with and it's just a gig, you're paying full rate. That's why most of the time when you call booking agencies, they're like, well, what's your budget?
Right.
Because, depending on the event, and then you have private events that you just, corporate money is where it's at.
Right.
So as far as it's always about building relationships. You got to have a give and take, man. It's hard to take a gig at a lower rate and then be like, rock it, and then be like, well, I want my full rate now. It's just a fine line, man, because that's
Very
another
fine
way.
line, yeah.
You get your foot in the door. All right, listen, the first time I'll do it for like $1,500, but after that, you got to pay my full whack with $25 or $3,000, whatever anybody wants. And the promoter's gonna be like, I paid you $15 last time. Let's just do it again. Exactly. And it's hard to say no. But again, if it was a dope gig where you had a really great time and you feel that it could turn into multiple for the year, if you do that, I would take a lower rate. All right, let me start this over. I would take a lower rate if I knew it was going to have longevity.
I like that. So you're saying you'd rather get
sign me for a year.
You get $1,000, 50 weeks a year.
Yeah.
Better than getting your $5,000 for 25. For 5 times.
Yeah. If you want a better rate from me, give me more dates.
Yeah, I got it.
If it's a one-off date, you're paying full whack.
Got it.
But then we build a relationship from there. If we have a great time and you want to bring me back, but we felt like my price was a little high, no, we'll work something out. That's when the relationships are super important in this business.
100%.
I never walk in with a chip on my shoulder. I want to be friends with everybody that I could possibly be friends with in this business. There's some people that you don't want to be friends. I don't force friendships, though.
I mean, people that don't know, I met you 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We met that night. I knew of you. We met that night, but 10 years later, or I shouldn't say that, about 7 years later, we kind of reconnected.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. You still go on those relationships. And I'm sure that's how I've gotten, different athletes and celebrities. They, if they come into town, they're going to tell their friends or whatever it is. And it's about,
you're going to Boston? Yeah, hit up Jeff London. He'll take care of you. And that's how it works. But, that's a really great question, though. I have to say that, man. It's this game's about relationships, but don't fake a relationship.
Right.
Because I know a lot of people that do that in this business, and you could see that right through that person. Like, this dude is being fake. He's fugazi, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be as real as I possibly can because the real relationship, people will appreciate that way more.
And I think you get more things out of the relationship that, being reliable and being a good DJ and things like that. Once you maintain that relationship, gets you really far.
Of course.
Somebody cancels. Who do I call up? You want to be the first person that people think of.
Yeah, of course. And it's like, you're exactly right, man. And it's just, you build these relationships. You have a good relationship with this guy that's at this club. Next thing you know, he's leaving that club to start this other club. You've just, the relationship will go with it wherever it goes.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're working for this guy in Tampa. Now he's running Live in Miami.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you never thought you would get in Live, but now you are because you had this relationship with this gentleman prior or woman prior to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I was going to play devil's advocate, but
go ahead.
but I'm agreeing with you, though. But I'm agreeing with you on a couple different things.
Circumstances,
There is very circumstantial. The one thing, though, I think that you pointed out as well is undercutting. Never want to do that. And as a DJ coming up, you never want to, lower the price just to get the gig. There are different ways going around it than doing it, opening for somebody or, closing out somebody's set or something like that. But you don't want to undercut it so that now one person doesn't have a job just because you did it for $100 cheaper or whatever the case may be.
Well, it happens a lot, though.
It does
Definitely.
happen a lot because people want to see gigs. But the most important thing that we can stress as a promoter, as a DJ, is the relationship. And that's what it is. It's reaching out. I mean, over the, so many years, hundreds of DJs, and some of them I keep in contact with all the time because you just, you just never know. Maybe they could be the DJ of, the next biggest star. They just get a radio gig, they're doing a radio tour. Boston's the next stop. You want your name
attached to that.
Yes. You want your name to be the first text that they send out when they think of Boston. You want to be the first text, if you were in New York, New York.
You think about it this way, like you and I said we met 7 years ago, right? We built this relationship. You're booking me, even though that's not the way it happened.
Mm-hmm.
We built this relationship for 7 years. Look at how many different venues you worked at in 7 years.
Absolutely.
That would take me from working with you from one specific venue. Now I've traveled with you to these clubs last for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Relationships like 7 years
100%.
last way longer, obviously. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think in those 7 years, I could name 7 clubs off the top of my head. You know,
of course, yeah.
Absolutely.
And you don't get stuck at one place.
Not at all.
think
So that was a great question.
It
and
was great, yeah.
So keep those questions coming in.
Please.
Everything. Time's flying by. We have a timer in here, but the timer doesn't. Timer keeps resetting, Jesse. What? The timer keeps resetting, but it doesn't matter because we're losing time.
Time is only
What? Give me a quote, Jason. Time is only what?
I don't know. Dude.
Something ridiculous. Look up a time quote.
Time is the only thing that's priceless in this whole world that you can never get back or buy.
Ooh, can't buy time.
Now it's 2 seconds. We went here.
What's up? You can email us at on the promoter. He's the DJ at Gmail. Question of the week. We have a bunch more to go through. We're gonna do one a week. Some great questions, and
They're fun too.
They're
It's
fun,
like,
yeah.
It's serious. Yeah, man. So let's get into this. I think I'm ready for a little story time.
woo.
Gather around, kids. It's story time with Uncle Jeff. The names have been left out to protect the guilty.
Now, here's a little story I got to tell.
Uncle Jeff, what's the story this week?
We've got a story.
I bet we do. Let's go.
We've got a story. All right. This week's story is about a New York rapper who's been around for decades.
Okay, so is he from the golden era of hip hop? You would say
He's on the cusp.
2000s. Oh, I know what this story is about already. I don't, but I have a guess already.
Okay. So, this guy had a night at the club. Not one story, not 2 stories. It's going to be like 3 stories for this guy in one night.
In one night.
In one night.
And you were taking care of them like the entire night too?
It felt like this clock just going over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah, it didn't stop. So here's the story.
And that's so hard for me to believe because we're actually in Boston where everything ends at 2. So
It was
there
a long-
had to be like a long
It was the
night for
longest
this
3
three
hours.
stories.
It was the longest 3 hours of my life.
Oh, God. Let's go, man.
All right. Tour bus pulls up.
All right.
I'm outside doing the VIP. Kind of got a heads up that he was coming. Big deal, big deal. Gets off the tour bus. Him and his sidekick. His sidekick is also raps, hype man. Comes to the door in shorts. The owner just happens to be out there and says, "No, you can't come in the shorts." So I run over to the owner. I'm like, "You don't understand who this is. We got to let him in. We got to make an exception." In the meantime, he looks at the door guy and says in like the third person, whatever, "You're not going to let bleep in?" He says his own name.
Okay.
Am I on some TMZ shit? He thought we were like pranking him or something. So the owner comes up, after I talked to him, realized who it is. He said, "You know what? I'll go. My bus is right there. I'll go put on some pants for you." And the owner says to him, "If you put on pants and come back in, first bottle's on me." Perfect.
Well, he's like, I wasn't planning on paying anyways, but thank you.
We walk in there, sit down. I tell the waitress, first bottle's on the owner, everything like that. Finally settled in. A little commotion outside, but we're good right now. See the bottle parade come. The first bottle that he ordered on the owner was the most expensive champagne that we carry.
Was it
I think it was like
Cristal?
back in the day. I think it was like PJ Rosé, like a Magnum, like a big
you got
bottle.
a Magnum of it?
Yeah,
You're like, all right,
yeah.
buddy, you're gonna buy me my first
Right,
bottle?
yeah.
Here you go, buddy.
So I'm like, oh man, gotta deal with the owner after this. He doesn't know yet.
Oh shit.
Sitting down, having a great time. You know, he's pretty personable. He's He's got some big pieces on him. He's got like huge chain on him. A ring, a diamond ring, that one diamond a yellow diamond it was enormous. It was huge. Sitting down, enjoying his enormous bottle of champagne with some friends and everything, and I'm hanging by the table. I see the table across from him throw up like kind of like a gang sign or something, and I'm like, shit. Oh man, I'm like, I know this guy. He might be serious. He wears a lot of red, you know. Yeah. The rapper throws up a gang sign, and I'm like, oh my god, here we go. They start. It's like they're 15 feet away from each other, but there's a crowd like in between them. Do it again. They start walking towards each other, and I'm like, there's no way I can get a bouncer by now. And I'm a big boy, but this is gonna be a rumble.
No, I'm good.
So I'm like, oh, this is getting bad. Closer. They get in, doing all this stuff. They get within like an arm's length distance between each other, and then boom, they hug.
Well, that's a good thing.
Woo! So relieved.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, do you guys know each other? And they're like, yeah. He's like, when I went to Miami a couple months ago, this rapper went to Miami a couple months ago. We linked up at the club. I forget what club it was. And somebody started with the rapper, like some beef or something happened, and they got in an argument or got a pushing match, fight, whatever the case may be. The guy that was at the club, who's from Boston, actually stopped the fight or did something to protect the rapper. So he was like, I can't believe I saw you again, blah, blah, blah.
Kind of owed him one.
So I was like, phew, we got over that. We got over that one.
Yeah.
All right. So then that guy comes over and is enjoying the enormous bottle of champagne with the artist as well.
So that's now he's not spending more money.
Yeah. So then the end of the night, we're getting there. And once again, Red Sox players are at the club. These are different Red Sox players.
Not the one from the previous story.
Not the one from the previous story. These guys are from Texas. They definitely listen to country music. They definitely wear cowboy boots to the club.
Sick.
But they knew who this rapper was.
They knew who the artist was.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had their World Series rings on. This is a ring store. We're always doing ring stores. Yeah. They had the World Series ring on. So the there were pitchers as well from Texas. I can give it away now. I introduced them to the rapper. And
they asked you to personally.
Yeah. So I brought them over. I said, this is so-and-so from the Red Sox. And they were like, can we take a picture? He's like,
my God.
He's like, yeah. He's like, but we got to trade rings.
That's kind of fire.
So he took off his enormous yellow diamond pinky ring, put it on one of the pitcher's hands, and he put on the Red Sox World Championship ring.
Dope. Yeah.
They took the picture, and they said, what's up to each other, and he gave him back the ring, and he said, you know what you did for this World Series ring? He's like, that's blood, sweat, and tears to get that ring.
I know who you're talking about now.
He said, you know what I did to get this ring? And they were like, no. He's like, I smoked a blunt, ate some Munchie cereal, and wrote a rhyme. And that's my story.
Gather around, kids. It's story time with Uncle Jeff. The names have been left out to protect the guilty.
Now, here's a little story I got to tell.
Now, I really think I can't wait until we're done with this podcast today, because I think I definitely know what you're talking about.
I might not tell you, Jason.
Sometimes he doesn't tell me, people, so I have to
you have to keep guessing.
I have to keep buying him Burger King before we go.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. Well, listen, if you don't know what that means by now, then you must be new to the podcast, which is awesome. But that stands for Positive News Time. Let's go. What's the positive news time for this week?
We always end it on the positive news, and I love it. All right, this week's positive news. We're going to go with something that has some negative connotation to it, but we're turning into positive, and this is all positive stuff. We're going positive news from the Grammys, which is a big deal.
Big deal.
Let's go over some of the stuff, and then we can elaborate on some of the stories.
Yeah.
So I think we got to give it up to somebody that we talked about in the podcast before. We got to give up to Nas, his first Grammy.
That's crazy. It's amazing, too.
It's amazing to think about that.
Because it's probably definitely not his best piece of work. Not knocking it.
Right.
But Illmatic was one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever created, and it has never gotten any...
And it's tough because it just goes over that 1 year.
It's crazy, yeah. But, shout out to Nas, man. Congratulations. It's a beautiful thing. It's great.
Beyonce has now earned 4 more. She got 4 more awards, total of 28 awards.
Damn.
She now holds the record for most Grammys by a female artist. I think tied also for the most Grammys by a person alive. Her daughter Blue Ivy got one as well. For probably being on.
Oh, she was like a guest, right?
Yeah, or in the video or something like that. Yeah.
Who has the record?
It's an older person. He has 32. It was a producer, so I think Beyonce has one for an artist.
For an artist, yeah, that's crazy.
We got to give it up to Toots winning a Grammy. He passed away early this year. One of my favorite artists from Toots and the Maytals.
So dope.
He won for best reggae record.
That's amazing too.
Yeah, I think it's his second Grammy. Obviously,
one of the best artists I've ever seen perform.
He was unbelievable. I've seen him perform a lot, and he's unbelievable. He actually put the album out. We released it two weeks before he passed away, which is kind of crazy. So big shout out to Toots. The other thing that I thought was cool this year was the segments because it was always they did some segments that were pre-taped. So they did some speeches instead of having artists do speeches.
Yeah.
They had GMs and workers from clubs and theaters that have been shut down, music clubs and theaters that have been shut down for the past year, announce the winners. So they did from like Apollo and the famous one in Nashville. I thought it was like super cool.
I saw that too, and it was amazing, and it needed something. It needed to be done.
100%.
These voices need to be heard. These are places that we enjoy so much, that so much creativity comes out of, and we need those places. And I feel like through this whole COVID situation, theaters and artists are the last people on the list of any, looking after, support.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's been tough for a lot of these venues, and a lot of them aren't going to be back, and that's the scary part about this whole thing.
Yeah, I thought the performances were good. Harry Styles can sing his ass off.
Dude, that kid is talented, man.
Silk Sonic, Bruno Mars, and Anderson.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. You can never say, I like
Anderson
Bruno.
.Paak is so.
He's playing drums, I think. Yeah.
I watched his Tiny Desk. He's a talented little dude, man. I really like Anderson .Paak, man. He's dope.
Yeah.
He's dope.
No,
Soulful and real. My only issue with the Grammys was a few things.
We're doing positive, though.
Oh.
We can tell you negative, and then I can make it a positive, though. Go ahead.
Megan Thee Stallion, I saw her on Saturday Night Live. She is not a good performer for some reason.
Yeah.
But no, it was dope. I don't understand why she had a lip sync for.
I think because this is my theory, is when artists like that are not Beyonce caliber are dancing and rapping.
Yeah.
You get out of breath.
That's very true. Okay. But still,
I
takes
can't
away from it. It takes so much away from it.
I agree on that.
And you're performing not in front of an audience. You're performing in front of your peers, too. Right. So that must be
Yeah. No, it's hard, yeah.
Cardi B's was dope when the first scene opened up and she was behind that, in front of the LED screen. It looked like she was just floating. Almost.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah, what they can do with the LEDs and all that stuff.
It's crazy nowadays because the technology is so.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It looks
from
like she was
back
floating.
in the day. Yeah, it looked awesome. But then again, she was lip syncing too.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it, and they did it in front of the peers. There was no, it was just a small
Small
audience.
crowd,
It was pretty cool.
I really appreciate the Grammys. I know some people don't give a fuck about them, but I enjoy them, and I think it's a prestigious award to have, even though artists sometimes are like, I don't need an award. My award's my art. You know what I mean?
Well, those are the people that don't get the Grammys. They say that.
Probably most of the time.
Yeah. Well, we're going to end on that. Some positive news.
Yeah, man.
Once again, check Jason out at,
Jason Smith Music at Instagram.
and you can check me out at JeffLondon_ on Instagram. Our link tree is up there. You can find us, and you can always go to at I'm the promoter, he's the DJ. Thanks again. Like and subscribe. Appreciate all the feedback so far and all the listening.
Make sure you guys keep sending in them questions, and we'll keep answering them. We enjoy that. You guys send them some good shit.
Let's get the outro.
Okay, I'm reloaded.
Jeff London, DJ Jason Smith.
Here come the bang.
When the sun goes down, the music turns up. A whole new world opens up behind the velvet rope.